Hey, everybody, what's up? Welcome back. We're crossing the streams again. What's up? Took a couple weeks off. If you're looking for binge watching suggestions, you've come to the right place.
European style.
That's right. We have over 100,000 hours of experience between the four of us. This is exciting. We took a couple weeks off. I was traveling. I was in London and Italy.
Wow.
I felt like Ron. I was watching movies on the plane.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hear about your selection. I feel like we're gonna learn a lot about you by what you selected on whatever airline was fortunate enough to have you.
One of them I'm talking about today, and then the other one, there was two. It was Trainwrecked with Amy Schumer, which was hilarious. Oh my God. It's a hard one to watch when you're on a plane because there's definitely some soft core sex going on, which is fine for me, but it's like, when you think about like everyone who's you watch what everyone else is watching, you like look.
Well, let me ask you.
There's like 10 minutes of John Cena's ass just on top of Amy Schumer.
So Jeff, let me ask you: Were you in an aisle seat? This is important.
Yeah.
If you're in an aisle seat, that's a real problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got multiple rows you can see you.
Yeah, it was like, so it was a little troublesome with that. And it never stopped. It was always, then she's having, sex with Bill Hader. And it's like, there was a lot of sex in that movie, which is fine. It wasn't like gratuitous or anything, but it was gratuitous on an airplane level. You know what I mean? So it was.
Yeah.
But,
you had a 12-year-old girl next to you, so that was really nice of you to nice kid.
But so that's okay. Oh, let's do we should do the theme song. Let's have Marcy kick it off. I'm gonna have to redo. You can work yourself in. We'll work Marcy's name in.
Ooh, good idea.
I should have updated it by now, but I just haven't. Sorry. Take it away, Marcy.
Here's a story of some lonely fellas who spend way too much time watching the TV. So hi, all of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really, just between you and me.
Sal.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff and Ron and Sal and Bob, and then there's Marcy, and then they call it Crossing Streams.
Ron.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform, but man and woman, we cross these streams.
We
cross the streams.
We cross the streams.
That's the way we do it.
We cross the streams.
I actually felt like we brought that together pretty well.
I think 3 or 4 is like the sweet spot. I think, is where it goes. Man. So what was I saying? So and then the other one I did was the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and then I read a book. The rest of it I actually read a book, and then you know what I watched on the way there? I watched Stanley Tucci has a Italy series.
It's
fantastic. So I watched some of that. But of course, he's like, 2 hours up a mountain where you'd never, I stumbled on this. Yeah, because you have an entire crew of that whatever movie you were on, and they found this place where you eat rabbit. Where the one thing that surprised me about Italy that does no one talk about this? There's so many lemons. Everywhere is a lemon. It's all lemons. The whole country is lemons.
It's funny.
Limoncello. It's like lemon trees everywhere.
Oh, right.
It's just crazy. Everything's lemon. Like you walk in those streets, everything's like lemon something. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
Except they probably call it something like limone or something like that.
Yeah, it's a limoncello.
Yeah.
Lemon.
They got to say it nicely.
We got hey Jerry. What's up?
What's going on, Jerry?
Hi, Jerry.
It was for research. It was a good book. But
now, let me ask you: did you read a book, or did you read a book on your iPad?
Oh yeah, no, on my iPad.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
This is important. This has been a source of arguments between me.
I
and
did bring a physical
friends.
book. I just happen to also have a lot of times when I get press copies, if I'm reading something for an interview, they'll send me a PDF. So
Yeah.
or not a PDF, a PDF. And
So the
show.
argument seems to come down to vacations when it comes to being on a beach, like physically in the sand on a beach. Almost everyone you talk to prefers a physical book in that
Right,
situation.
paper book.
Yeah.
100.
Paper book. Right.
I did buy one just to take to Mexico,
Yeah.
or
So
I use a Kindle.
there it is. That should be the marketing campaign for the book industry. That
Well, I think the Kindle or whatever, the iPad in the sun gets so hot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, speaking of hot, I went to Pompeii.
I see what you did there.
And
poor Pompeii.
it was fascinating. Pompeii. So a couple of things I learned, and anyone can Google this if they want. So Pompeii was one of 4 cities that were destroyed that day. I guess they just had the best marketing or
name.
something. But they were their problem was the wind was going their way when Mount Vesuvius erupted. Now here's the thing. Like, let me ask you guys a question. When you think of Pompeii and you think of like the frozen people, right? You know what I'm talking about?
You're not frozen, but okay.
Right. Well, I always thought, I didn't realize Pompeii 1 was buried and they uncovered it like some city in Israel. I didn't realize it was an excavation. I thought it just destroyed the city. And I don't know what that meant, but when they were frozen or like captured in that moment, I thought that happened during the process of whatever, the volcano and the lava, and it kind of captured them like that. But this is something, Ron, if you don't know, I think would fascinate you. That's not it at all. Those are plaster molds of when you see those people. Did you know this?
No.
Okay, so
I'm thinking the same way you, Jeff. I think it's because we learned it when we were little kids.
Yeah, so this is what it was. So Pompeii gets covered by 10 foot, like almost immediately, of ash and all that kind of stuff. So most of the time when you see them, most of the people that died were slaves because the rich people had left the slaves to just, they didn't think that they were completely losing their homes. And so what happened was they get buried, and then the organic material, their skin, at some point disappears, right? It disintegrates. And so at some point when they were excavating Pompeii, they realized that the disintegrated matter,
the organic material,
thank you, left a gap in and so the guy figured out that you could pour plaster in there, and then by pouring plaster into that, it recreated the organic matter in that. So there's actually trees and horses, and it's not just people that they've recreated. And then now with technology, they can actually find those gaps and recreate it even better.
So
that's what that is.
I did know 2 things that are 2 morbid things. First off, when people die in a volcano, like, don't you always assume like the lava just burns them up and they just all die? But no, they suffocate. It's the ash they suffocate them, and then if the lava happens to get them, then that's fine too. But people die from volcanoes from suffocation, not from getting burned up. And then the other morbid thing I was going to say is that if they found me in one of those plaster molds, I would be holding my clicker. Like that's where they would find me. It's like holding.
I'd be
clicker.
scrolling TikTok. Just be like this.
Like that would almost make it worth it, to find like one of us in a really funny posture just for all antiquity to see.
That's fine.
Hey, thanks, Jerry.
Man, that's there's a writer's strike, so go writers.
My nephew was affected by it.
Karate Kid, Cobra Kai season 6, I think.
Yeah.
They shut
Wow.
down. Yeah,
my nephew's a writer for. I think I'm allowed to say this. My nephew's a writer for Jimmy Fallon, and he's not working this week. So yeah.
What do they want? More money?
Yep.
What's the deal?
Better benefits, more money.
I thought writers make a shitload of money as it is.
I don't know. Not enough.
Yeah, I'm guessing not. So.
All right.
I think we should cross the line and go write for him. What do you guys say?
I heard there's a job available.
Be a scab writer. I'll do it.
I'm here about the job.
So, all right. Well, we got lots of good
Well,
stuff.
welcome back, Jeff. We missed you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Thank
Yeah.
you. So in episode 112 a few weeks ago, Night Agent,
Shitty.
Marcy and Ron disagreed on that.
Horrible.
Sex Life, we can all agree on
So
that.
good. Night Agent. Look at that.
And
hottie.
Parks and Recreation. We talked about. I finally got to share
Fantastic.
my love of finally watching Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too.
Opry
I still
Plaza.
have not watched it.
Opry Plaza, yeah. And yeah, so and then today we have Wellmania, King of Collectibles, Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Someone. Who wants to guess who's doing that one? Sal. The answer is Sal. And the unbearable weight of massive talent.
Wow.
It's a good one. We got a good show. Let's start with I Want to Dance
Wow.
with Someone.
Lord.
Yeah, this is
All right. I'm leading
oh
off
my
today. Huh?
gosh.
you're the enough.
Oh,
Sal,
this
tell
was
us about
great,
this
man.
Whitney Houston movie.
So, first of all, I am a big fan of the musical biography movies. One of my favorite all-time movies is La Bamba. I love that movie. Other great biography movies, I like Ray, the Johnny Cash one, which I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Walk the Line.
Walk the Line. Very, very good movie. Obviously, the Elvis one that just came out a couple months ago was very, very well done, although he's
Elvis.
had a bunch of them done on him. So I like that genre of movie. And so when I saw this one come out, now, unlike the other ones, like the La Bamba one, Richie Valens, I might have been alive, but I wasn't an adult when that famous person was obviously in their prime. Where this one I was a teenager in the 80s. I just remember Whitney Houston obviously hearing her music and just when you watch a biography too, especially someone like Whitney, where I was around a lot to see her, you kind of forget. You just kind of see headlines sometimes, and then when you get to see the biography, you get to kind of relive her whole life, but also your whole life, because you're kind of like, oh, I remember when that happened, So anyway, one thing I will say, because I'm not going to review it like go line by line, because you kind of know the Whitney Houston story. Everybody watching right now knows the Whitney Houston story. So I kind of want to just kind of go over the differences that I saw between this one and another one. Like, for instance, she had no struggle. You watch the Richie Valens one, he struggled for a really, really long time. He didn't have a famous mother that was a big singer. He didn't have Dionne Warwick that was her cousin. So, and I don't know if they just depicted this in the movie, but there's literally no struggle. I mean, she's singing in church. She has an amazing voice as a teenager in church. Her mother's watching her. Dionne Warwick stops by and says, we got to get this girl in front of people. She's singing at a bar called Sweetwater, actually. And Clive Davis comes to check her out. And obviously just it's kind of funny because, sometimes they fabricate these movies. And I don't know if it was true, but like that particular night, her mother was supposed to sing up front. And she like starts coughing. She knows Clive Davis is in the audience. So she starts coughing, saying she's got a really bad cough. And she's like, Whitney, you're going to have to do the opening song. And Whitney's freaking out. And she just slays it. And Clive Davis just basically signs her right after that. So that's the part I miss in other biographies, is there was no struggle for Whitney. I mean, she was just she was an amazing singer right off the bat. Didn't have to kind of work for years and stuff to get her fame. So she just gets signed. It's kind of cool how they show all that. Stanley Tucci plays Clive Davis, and he does a really, really good job with it. And then Naomi Ackie plays Whitney Houston. She did a really, really nice job. Ashton Sanders plays Bobby Brown, and Natasha Williams plays Robin Crawford. Now, that's a character that I obviously, when you just watch her from afar, like we all did, you don't notice that her like best friend in the whole world is this Robin Crawford. She meets her like in high school, and this Robin Crawford stays with her all the way to the end of the movie, which is kind of cool. And kind of rocky relationship with her along the way, but it's like her best friend in the whole world. So that was kind of cool to see. But great moments of singing. They have just an amazing singing performances, like her Grammy performance, her the Super Bowl when she sings the national anthem, the Super Bowl, they recreate that. Freaking amazing. I mean, just very well done. And it's kind of funny because when I would watch the movie, Naomi Ackie would sing the Super Bowl, and then I would pause it, and then I went and YouTubed the Whitney Houston performance to see how accurate it was, and it was absolutely spot on. Every hand gesture, everything that Whitney Houston did at the Super Bowl 25, by the way, was absolutely perfectly accurate. So they didn't screw around with that. Not really a lot on her drug and alcohol. They definitely touched on it past the halfway point of the movie, but they didn't like just totally like make the whole thing about that, which I thought was cool. You kind of knew she had the problems, but they didn't overdo that. And but it was a very, very big part of the latter part of the movie. Great performances, like I said, just very, very well done. You kind of learn some things about her. I like the part where she says there's just some moments that I really like. She's meeting with Clive Davis, and he says, "Do you write any music?" And she says, "No." She goes, "I don't write any music." And he says, "Well, have you ever tried?" She goes, "Not really." She goes, "I'm just not capable of writing. I just don't really know how to do it. I know how to feel. I know how to sing, but I love." So they just start throwing all these demos in, and it's really cool because Clive Davis is throwing all these like 8 tracks in, and these people are singing songs. Speaking of writers' strike, the writers are just sending her songs, and these are just people singing them, and that was kind of cool. I like that, like when she's like listening to all these songs, it was really cool. He's just pumping in all these songs, and she's like, no, 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 and then they put in. I want to dance with somebody, and you don't hear it like she sings it. You just hear it just somebody singing it, and she's just like, I like that song. And so it's kind of cool how she found her music and how she found her songs. But her first album was absolutely just off the charts. The only singer in the history of the world for 7 straight #1 singles. It's still a record today. She's literally one of the biggest female stars ever in the world, and she was obviously singing along with Michael Jackson was in his prime, Madonna was in her prime. So to do what she did was absolutely amazing. So great performance, great movie. They don't really go over her death a little bit. The way they ended it, I don't want to give a spoiler alert. I want people to watch this, but they don't really go into her death. They just do the thing at the end where she says she passed away in 2012. So I thought they did that a good justice. And just very, very well done. Very good writing, great cast, great acting. Cinematography was great. Like I said, all the scenes with the singing was great. Just a very, very well done biography, man. I give it 5 tomato sauce jars, man. I thought it was very, very well done.
How about that?
I recommend it.
Well, if you look at, I've had this discussion with friends of mine before that. If you talk about the top 5 voices of all time, that just having the argument of, okay, who makes that list? And we all listen. It's a very, each one of us can put together our own list, but invariably Whitney Houston makes that list. No matter who you are, Whitney Houston is a top 5 all-time singer, immensely talented.
Absolutely.
And by the way, sang our school song when I graduated high school. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I forgot to mention they do a lot of the Bobby Brown, her and Bobby Brown, how they met. Obviously, their tumultuous relationship, and they show all that. A lot of fighting between them two. Great acting scenes between them two. But they don't spend too much time on everything. They don't spend too much time on the Bobby Brown thing. They don't spend too much time on her drug use and alcohol use. They kind of just really did a good job with it, because sometimes those kind of biographies of somebody that struggled with that, it's too much of that, and they didn't do that here. They did a really nice job with it. So
Sal, Dana would like you to move along so we can get to Marcy.
Thanks, Dana. Hey, we got an hour show here.
Dana saw Sal's show. I took Dana to see Bob and Sal and
Oh, that's
Northville.
right. Hi, Dana. Thanks
Yeah.
for coming out.
Lee's
Hi,
here.
Al.
What's up? Hey, Lee. What's up?
Hi, Lee.
What's up, Lee?
So I was having trouble. The tomato, it wasn't showing. So there
you go.
for some reason.
I saw it. I saw it earlier.
Yeah, it was there.
Well, it came up once, but I was trying to click on it 10 times before that.
Oh, okay.
I was clicking. It was like nothing was happening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, not that we're about fan service here, but
What's up,
let's move into Wellmania and keep the.
I have
Keep the
no idea
fans
what this
happy.
is.
So,
I'm interested in
No
seeing
one
this.
knows what this show is. It's another, it's just, our Netflix sent this to me and no one else has heard of it.
It's an algorithm.
Okay, so I first want to just say hello to Dana myself. I'm so glad she's here because
Hi,
I showed
Dana.
Dana
Hi,
Wellmania
Dana.
I showed her the first episode the other night, and it's funny, and she laughed. And then when it was over, she said, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably not going to watch it again. So that gives you an idea. I loved this show. Celeste Barber is an Australian comedian. Have you heard of her? She was the one just pictured on the cover. So she stars in Wellmania. She plays Liv. She is in the United States living for a long time. She's a journalist, and she's just learned that she's going to have like this dream job. She's going to be a judge on a cooking show, a popular cooking show on TV in the United States. She's going to be a judge, and it's a really big deal. And it's like she's this close to getting this job. So she has to fly to Australia to go to her bestie's birthday party. She's going to go to Australia for like 2 days, and then she's going to fly back to New York. This girl likes to party. She loves to drink. She does shots. She does cocaine. She does LSD. She is the party girl. So, I mean, who flies to Australia for 2 days and parties and flies back to New York? Well, this girl happens to try it. When she's in Australia, she gets robbed. Someone snatches her bag, and she doesn't have her green card. So she's got to get a new green card and so she can get back home. But she's such a disaster. She is so unaware of her surroundings, somewhat of a selfish person. She ends up really pissing off the guy at like the embassy. And he's like, you know what, you're too healthy. You need to get healthier to get back. And I just like skipped a really big part where she really does have a medical emergency before all this happens and ends up in an ambulance because she's crazy, killing herself with partying and just doing whatever the hell she wants. So they're basically like, you're not going back to the United States. You're not welcome in the United States in this physical condition. You need to get healthy. So it's really funny. She's a very physical comedian where she's just silly and she cracks me up. And honestly, I watch it and I'm like, I totally want to party with her. She's so much fun. As long as you don't get too close, because she's a little irresponsible, and you'll see through the show that she, upsets friends and family due to her selfishness. What I found with each episode is it got better and better and better. And as it was getting to the last couple of episodes, I'm like, this is so much fun. They are thinking about a second season. It hasn't been written, but it's on Netflix. Like I said, it's just hilarious. She is like a physical comedian where she just says the silliest things while she's also with her body just being silly and fun. I mean, she takes a spinning class and she has to do all these crazy diets. She has to convince this doctor that has been assigned to her that she's getting healthy, and the two of them have a fabulous relationship. The doctor hates her, and she is just trying to win her over in the worst possible ways. It's really, really, really cute. So I highly recommend that you guys try it. But I will also say it's a little girly.
Does she do stand-up?
So tell us,
yeah,
logistically.
She's a stand-up comedian. Yeah.
But she does it in the show as well. On this show?
No. In the show, she's just a journalist. I mean, she writes.
Okay.
She writes about like restaurants, and she's actually a critic.
So it's nothing to do with stand up. It's just her show, or she wrote
Correct.
and directed it. wrote and directed it as well? Or?
I don't know. Actually, those are some good questions, and I'm
No,
so
that's okay.
unprepared.
No, it's curious.
But I don't think she does. I would think I would recognize that. But
Okay.
she's definitely. I think a lot of it is like comes from her own true stories or something like, but it is not about her being in stand up. But I did watch some of her stand up before or earlier today.
And I'm sorry, did you say this was on Netflix? Is that what I heard?
Yeah. Netflix.
And how long are these episodes? And how many episodes? And
oh God.
How many seasons? And
yeah, great questions. There's one season right now. I believe it's 8 episodes. And honestly, the time I'm thinking I cruised through it so fast, it's probably about a 30 to a 40-minute episode. Okay. I really watched it within like 2 or 3 days. I mean, but also because I loved it. But it was my alone show. My husband never would have watched it with me. So, I'm just, the ladies.
Everyone needs their alone show. My wife's alone show right now is Community.
Right, and that's one of the best shows ever. But I do have one shout out though, because I want to talk next week about Tell Me a Story. And I just want you to know I am too new with Tell Me a Story to talk about it today. I still have many episodes to watch, but it's so good. And Dana recommended that I watch it, and I told her I was going to thank her. So you guys should all watch that this week too. It's really good. And the guy went to North Farmington High School. So.
Oh, you know what else I'm watching now, and then I'm not ready to talk about, but The Diplomat.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. Maybe we'll all have that.
Is that good? Carrie Russell is unbelievable. I mean, they're all good. Russell. She is so good. You're like, sometimes you're like, you sit there and you're watching, you're watching some kind of award-winning thing. Like to me, like she is right on there. So. All right. So that's cool. All right, Mars.
Okay. Wellmania.
Mars.
Thank you.
Jana Jaffe seems very happy.
I just want to say this, Marcy, you may have stumbled inadvertently onto a genre of this show of what women watch without their husbands.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
What is within that thin little lane? What are people watching? And
probably the movie Magic Mike.
Right. And the ones Marcy doesn't cover, Sal does.
Right.
I will watch Magic Mike though.
Right. See what you did there?
Between Sal and Marcy.
I'll do a rom-com. I'll have a rom-com next week. No doubt about it.
Did you guys ask your wives if they watch Sex Life? Ron, Jeff, did your wives watch Sex Life? Did they know what it was?
She didn't even know what it was.
Did she know what it was? Really?
Yeah, she's never heard of it.
She does now.
Yeah, now she does. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. All right, let's talk about Nicolas Cage and the unbearable weight of massive talent. Now, has anyone else seen this movie?
Never even heard of it.
Never even heard of it. Okay, so how could you have not heard of Nicolas Cage's 104th movie role? That's what I have to ask you. Wow. So now what may have confused you is you're a fan of Nicolas Cage, and he did this movie as Nicholas Kim Coppola, so as not to confuse people that the Nicolas Cage character he plays in the movie isn't exactly the actual Nicolas Cage of real life. So
I forgot that was his real name.
Yeah, so right, he's a Coppola. So this movie is sort of a meta movie. It's a nod to Nicolas Cage. So if you're a huge Nicolas Cage fan, there's lots of kind of nods to a bunch of his movies throughout, and most of the big ones. So the whole idea is that it's Nicolas Cage and he's playing Nicolas Cage, a version of Nicolas Cage. But there's different, like he covered up some of his tattoos, and when asked, why did you cover up some of your tattoos? Why does this Nicolas Cage have less tattoos than real life Nicolas Cage? I was like, well, I didn't have as many wives in this movie. So I don't know what that means. But so he tried to draw some minor differences. So basically what this movie is about is Nicolas Cage. We find Nicolas Cage in this world of Nicolas Cage, kind of down and out. He's not having the best of luck getting roles, and Neil Patrick Harris plays his agent or manager, and he's offered $1 million to fly somewhere and attend a fan's birthday party. Of course, he turns it down and then realizes he needs the money. He's going through a divorce. He's trying to connect with his daughter. So these are all some subtexts. And the movie starts with a big kidnapping of an important person who we don't know yet, who's a big Nicolas Cage fan, and we know this because she's watching The Rock. No, what's the one on the plane?
Con Air.
Con Air.
Con Air, right.
Oh,
And
my
so
favorite.
he decides he's going to take the $1 million because he needs $1 million, right? He needs the money. So you've probably, if you've been on social media in the past months, you've seen the meme from this movie where it's kind of it's Nicolas Cage kind of being all stern, and then they turn and it's Pedro Pascal, and he's all like, like his eyes are like lit up, and he couldn't be happier. It's sort of a really active meme on Instagram and TikTok right now that comes from this movie. So Pedro Pascal's character plays like a real super fan of Nicolas Cage. He loves Nicolas Cage. And so he pays $1 million to have him be at his party. And so while Nicolas Cage is there, though, he is approached by Tiffany Haddish and Ike Barinholtz, who are playing CIA agents. And they are, of course, watching over Pedro Pascal, whose character's name is Javi. They believe him to be a drug lord. So, and then this drug lord is really into Nick Cage. And one of the reasons he got him there is he had written a script and sent a movie script that he wanted Nicolas Cage to star in. But now it turns out that the girl that was kidnapped was possibly kidnapped by Javi, Pedro Pascal's character. And the CIA needs Nicolas Cage to become the hero he was meant to be and help them find the girl, save the girl, stop the drug lord. And so they end up to kind of make up a reason to stay. He says, I won't be in your movie, but I will help. Let's write a movie together, right? So there's some scenes where in the process of them writing the movie together, and Pedro Pascal's character and him, that I'm watching on a plane, okay? So I'm laughing out loud. I'm like just really loud. And it was really, really funny. If you need a moment to see Pedro Pascal not in the role of saving a younger child for a series of episodes, this is the movie for you. He's amazing. He's as a matter of fact, he steals the movie. And when Nicolas Cage, I was reading the script, he actually wanted that character. He wanted to play his own fan for it to be even more meta than it was. But when Pedro Pascal was cast, he took the role of Nicolas Cage back. So Tiffany Haddish is great. She's bald in this movie. Her head shaved. I only mention that because I think if you're good looking with your head shaved, you're good looking.
You're good looking. Yeah.
And so their characters. So it's really just, it's fun. So it's sort of like one of those movies that it sort of becomes a movie. He sort of becomes Nicolas Cage in the movie. Pedro Pascal has this hidden thing where it's like this shrine to Nicolas Cage. It's really funny, and a lot of kind of cool things happen along the way. There's a fun ending to it, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you like Nicolas Cage, and I know he's made a lot of things for money along the way recently, but this is a return to form, and it made no money. I found it either made 20 million or 29 million, which is not a lot of money. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 87% across the board, audience and critic. So it's very well received, and people definitely like the movie. And I went in with very minimal expectations. One, I'm on a plane, and I figured I could always go to sleep if there was a problem, if it was boring. But I found myself very, very entertained by this movie. It was just great. Nicolas Cage. He plays another version of himself, I think, from the Valley Girl movie. It sort of becomes his, like, he talks to him and he talks to himself. And there's a weird scene where they kiss. I didn't really understand that, but Nicolas Cage kisses Nicolas Cage. But for what it's worth, I don't know if it's streaming yet because I watched it on the movies,
that happens, Jeff. That a lot of times you catch that before it streams on the airplane. So that's.
But I think it's on. It's either on Paramount or it's going to be on Paramount or HBO. It's going to be on one of those. Probably relatively soon if it's not already.
So is this where Nicolas Cage is in his career, where he's essentially making fun of himself at this point, and he's okay with that? Because I feel like he stopped trying to emerge out of the Nicolas Cage meme that we've all come to see him as now, and I think he's kind of embracing it a little bit.
Yeah,
he must be, because this is full embrace of Nicolas Cage, but it is in its finest form. I will have to say, it's on Stars, I guess, right now, but I'm sure at some point it'll be. I think you have to pay for Stars, but it's worth it to watch. If you're a big Nicolas Cage fan or you love those old Nicolas Cage movies, you would definitely like this movie. Pedro Pascal, all the acting is great and all the characters are really good. It's just all around super fun movie.
Is he Raising Arizona Nicolas Cage, or is he?
I don't know that I know enough of them to know which ones we're calling on which ones, but it's my understanding it does kind of tap into quite a bunch of them. So
his bigger movies, probably.
Yeah, definitely Face Off. A lot of Face Off.
I have such an opinion of that movie.
Cool. But anyway, I highly recommend this. So definitely check it out.
Dana's very happy you reviewed it.
Nice.
She was going to rent it.
Happy to be of service, Dana.
We got one sale.
Dana.
I know, right? All right, we got one more for you coming at you. This is a Netflix show, King of Collectibles.
Yeah,
A Golden Touch.
And I got to tell you, this is so far out of my lane of what I would usually review here on Crossing the Streams. In fact, it's so far away from my normal genre that, Sal, I almost called you to see if maybe you should review this show, because it seems much more a Sal or Bob type of show than a Ron show. In fact, the show I was going to review today was, of course, a foreign film that I'll save for next week. But I did, I did get served this up in the algorithm. I wasn't really all that interested about this, but I let me just say this: this is a real documentary about the collectible industry, and it kind of follows the theme of the Pawn Stars, hardcore pawn kind of vibe. They got a camera following these guys around as they kind of navigate the collectible industry. But the thing that's different about this show is, I can only speak for myself, but I was really big into collecting things when I was a kid, like baseball cards and memorabilia. I have a collection of autographs. I have signed I've got my stupid helmet and signed pictures all over my office here. Like somehow that boyish, desire for collectibles never really left me. And I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think that's why this show, perhaps more than the Pawn Stars of the world, I think that's why this show probably resonates with people that still have that in them. And I can't help but say to myself, as I'm sure a lot of people do when they watch this show, that, man, I should have held on to that stupid Hank Aaron baseball card, or I should have kept that box of Star Wars memorabilia or whatever, because I am just absolutely blown away by the market for these things and what people are willing to pay for some of these things. This particular dealer His name's Golden. That's actually the guy's last name. He deals only in the highest end of collectibles. I'm talking about world-renowned, famous collectibles, game-worn jerseys at championship games, Tiger Woods golf ball that fell into the hole with the Nike swoosh, like things that are instantly recognizable. And he is a marketplace for these types of products to only the rich and famous, typically billionaires, that only want to play in this market for the absolute top shelf things that we've all seen. And I think part of the fascination with this is just watching the money roll in. And then another part of the fascination is who is interested in these things. Like Drake apparently is super into collectibles, and Drake actually has a huge portion of his portfolio. I mean, the guy's a billionaire, and he's got a giant chunk of his own financial portfolio invested in the collectibles, baseball cards in particular. They spend an inordinate amount of time talking about, Sal, you might know what this is, the absolute gold standard for any baseball card or any sports card at all is the LeBron James triple logo man card. Do you know what this is?
No, but I had a Michael Jordan rookie a long, long time ago that I sold that I should definitely have right now. I'm an idiot. So
anyway. When I think of baseball cards and millions of dollars, I always think of, the Honus Wagners and the Ty Cobbs, but there was a card that was produced that for whatever reason has LeBron James the three logos of the three teams that he's won championships with on the same card, with the actual like fabric of the logo in the card. And I guess this is the freaking golden ticket of all baseball cards, and it commands millions and millions of dollars. And there is this international hunt for this card. And sure enough, some idiots I think it was in Texas, found it. And it was verified, and yes, it's actually the card. And this Golden guy swept in and said, listen, nobody is going to be better suited to sell this card for you than me. Nobody's got the connections. Nobody's got the platform. Nobody's got the business and credibility to be able to sell this thing. And so he flew these guys up to New York in his private jet to be presented with the card and to basically sell this card on his marketplace. And sure enough, this thing sold for millions of dollars on his marketplace. That's the thing about this business. He's always right, no matter what ends up happening, no matter who buys it, no matter how much money it ends up going for. This dude makes a ton of money on these sales because he owns the platform and owns the entire side of the business where he can market this thing. There was a really interesting deal that I just am fascinated by, that Jackie Robinson's game-worn jersey from 1951, that I guess, I don't know if he hit a home run in it, but it's in all of the old time movies with Jackie Robinson, this jersey. Cause I didn't know this is crazy to think about, guys, but back in 1951, you wore the same jersey the whole year long. So you had to machine wash your jersey. Nowadays, players get new jerseys every game.
I know, it's insane. I can't even believe that.
So can you imagine that Jackie Robinson wore the same jersey the entire season of 1951? So you can tell it's been washed 100 times, and it has it's ripped, and it's got his Jackie Robinson's blood on the collar. It's got scrapes on the side where he's been hit by baseballs. And the guy who had this thing wanted $10 million for this jersey, right? It would be not just the most expensive piece of memorabilia ever in history, but it would be by 5 times as much the biggest sale ever. So it was the saga of them attempting to sell this jersey for a reserve price of $10 million, which, by the way, on a side note, I'll save you the suspense, they were not able to sell. No one was willing to pay $10 million for this game-worn jersey. But I just will say this. It's not a typical show for me. But I am surprised to tell you it is a really exciting show. You can't wait to see what's going to appear next as memorabilia. They talk about Pokemon cards. They talk about what are the names of the fuzzy animals from the 80s? The Beanie Babies. Yeah, there's a whole giant market for Beanie Babies, and some of them are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Princess
Diana,
it's just, is that it?
Right. And I'm just saying, the speed and absolute passion that people have for this market makes this show really interesting. And so,
did it cover Webkins at all?
It did not cover Webkins, but to be very honest with you, and I don't know if you're joking or not, if that's a collectible or not, but I can tell you that I think I'm 6 episodes into its first season. I think it was 8 episodes. So there's a couple more episodes left. They sold a messy, the last episode I watched, a messy game worn World Cup jersey sold for millions of dollars. And they were talking a lot about how the American sports memorabilia market is absolutely tilting right now towards soccer. People are going crazy for soccer stuff. So that people are trying to get their hands on superstars that are playing now, knowing that the market in 20 years is going to be crazy for it. So it's just it's surprising.
Is it a series or a movie? I mean,
it's a Netflix series, which is unusual for this kind of show. For a what do you call it? What would you call Pawn Stars and
reality
docu-series?
I guess it's a reality show. Yeah, I think Jeff's right.
Reality show.
Yeah, it's just reality show. That, I mean, some of it I do get bummed out by reality shows with cameras following Pawn Stars and these guys around, because some of it does feel scripted. But I can tell you what's not scripted are the auctions. And because you can look it up, it's real. What they get for these things is real, and what the marketplace that it's sold on is real. This guy Golden, who's an idiot, but unbelievably successful, he's real, and so it makes this really interesting. And Sal, for you, I just have to say, I really think you'll tear through this, because it is an exciting.
No, I'll definitely watch. I have a great memorabilia story real quick. It's not too long. It's about 2002. I used to I donated tea. Wasn't even a comedy story. I was donating tea to the Charles Woodson Jimmy Harbaugh golf outing that they would have every year at the University of Michigan, and I would get to golf in it because I donated tea. So I pull up to the parking lot to golf. The parking lot's packed. Everybody's having breakfast and bagels and stuff before you tee off. I park my car and the parking lot's packed. So I find this spot in between 2 cars. I park my car. I get out of my car. I'm getting my clubs. This SUV next to me, the back 2 windows are completely all the way down. And I look in the back seat, and it's a Heisman Trophy.
Oh my gosh.
I could take this Heisman Trophy, put it in my car, and no one would know anything. So I'm like, what the hell? That's got to be Charles Woodson's, right? So I go and I'm thinking I got to find the guy to tell him his back windows are both down. So I go over to the bagels because I want to get something to eat. And there he is. He's sitting in the bagel line. So I go up to him. I go, hey, Charles, man, Sal DeMille, Arizona Beverages. I said, hey, man, I just parked next to your car. Your 2 back windows are completely down and your Heisman's in the back. He goes, his eyes get so big. He turns to some guy that's next to him. He goes, Charles or Robbie, go shut my car, man. This guy just told me in my backseat. And he turns to me and he goes, man, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. He goes, you want something signed or something? I go, well, I don't have anything. I said, you want to sign my scorecard or something? And he signed my scorecard and he says, thanks, Sal, and signed my scorecard. And I still have that. And so 2 memorabilia stories there. I could have took his Heisman, and I have something signed from him thanking me that I told. I wish he would have put like, thanks for telling me my windows are up or down or something. But yeah, so that was really cool. I could have had a Heisman Trophy, and God knows.
Well, I can tell you, I bought a car with baseball cards. When I was 16 years old. I really was heavily involved in baseball cards.
Yeah, I had some cards too.
Particularly Mickey Mantle, and particularly I had multiples of the entire Roberto Clemente collection, which I was able to sell. But my Mickey Mantle, I had a 1958 Mickey Mantle that largely paid for my car.
Oh, absolutely.
I just will tell you, if you go look it up right now, I want that card back. I want that freaking card back.
Look it up.
So this kind of touched my own history, and it really reminded
Yeah,
me
sounds cool.
it
Sounds
really
like a
reminded
show.
me of how much passion I used to have for it. And I will admit, I have shut off the TV saying maybe I'll pick up a baseball card or something. You know, it's exciting.
Yep.
So anyway,
so
cool.
let
I'll check
me.
it out.
So Webkins is a real thing, and I wasn't really joking. So Webkins, I think it was around 2005. So it's been a while, but it's one of those things where the kids would buy the Webkins. They'd release certain ones like a poodle, right? And then they'd limited supply, and you'd walk into a Hallmark, and they'd have all of them there, but you could only buy 2. They would limit you to buying 2, so you couldn't just go in and buy them. And so Rob and my wife, we were starting to follow the market a little bit. And so these Clydesdales, they're going to release these Clydesdales. And we find a Hallmark in Livonia. The kids are having a dance recital in Livonia. And so each one of us go in at a time and buy 2 of these Clydesdales. We send her grandma in, we send my dad in. And so all of a sudden we have all these Clydesdales. So we're buying them for $12 and we're flipping them on eBay and stuff for anywhere between $40, $50 because they're like going at a huge multiple. Yeah, and nice. And the different ones would go for different prices. And I remember we sold enough to go for a family vacation, but it was just this little thing. And then just like Beanie Babies, all of a sudden you walk into a Hallmark and they'd be like, "You want 100 of them? Take 100 of them. No, you don't want any? What? Oh no." And so, that's how kind of that went, but it was cute. Yeah. You'd buy it and then you'd go and you created this online world with them. And so then you could buy stuff in this online world and that was your character. And
interesting. Well, I'll tell you what else is interesting is that, and I didn't mention this, but the marketplace also devotes a lot of its time and energy towards technology collectibles. So like original iPhones, original Apple products, original computer products and Ataris and all that stuff. And one of the interesting ones they featured on the show was, did you guys realize that that the astronauts on the space shuttle wore first generation Apple product watches that weren't even really watches. They just were data gathering tools that you could then connect to your computer and it would upload stuff. Like it would upload stuff to your computer. It was so weird and like not helpful. I don't know why these astronauts wore these watches, but they were only a handful of them made, and you can imagine these are highly sought after watches now.
Wow!
And they got their hands on one of these astronaut watches, which is interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it's the technology is pretty cool. I myself I've got all the what do you call them? The original Blackberries and stuff. I don't know. They're probably worthless, but who knows? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't know. You stick them in a drawer, and 20 years later,
I have an older iPod, one of the early iPods.
Yeah, one of the with the circle thing. Yeah. Those are. I know those go. If you check those out on eBay, those are desirable.
Not to brag, I could fit 100 songs on that.
Yeah.
So that was awesome, Ron. Oh, one other thing I did watch on the plane on the way there, based on your recommendation on Crossing the Streams, Facing Nolan.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So good. Wow.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Sal, have you seen it yet?
Yeah. I saw that. That was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Can you imagine facing that guy? He's a maniac.
Just a maniac.
Yeah, it was such. When you were talking about collectibles, the shirt where he had the blood all over the shirt.
Yeah. My favorite part of that documentary, I know we got to go, but was the Robin Ventura story. When if anybody got hit, or if Robin Ventura got hit, I guess the next person was up. Whoever got hit had to go charge Nolan Ryan, and it was Robin Ventura, this tiny guy,
and Nolan beat the crap out of him.
I mean, he was put in a terrible spot, that guy. If he didn't go charge the mound, his own teammates were going to beat the crap out of him.
So funny. So funny.
Such a great scene.
All right. Well, excellent show,
Yeah,
everybody.
good show, you guys.
Yeah,
Good
we
show.
got some good
Nice,
stuff
Jeff.
here. Marcy, say good night.
Good night.
Sal, say good night.
Good night, everybody. SalDeMillia.com. Janetti's, where Marcy and Gail were last week. So
Nice.
May 11th or June 15th.
Or Dana. That's fine.
Or Dana, I'm sorry.
I'm bringing
Ron,
Gail
say,
next time.
Ron, say good night.
Ron, who is not traveling the next 3 weeks in a row, I believe. So I'm gonna have to stick to algorithms now.
Nice.
But
We're in for a treat.
great to be
And
here,
I, Jeff DeWaskin, also not traveling for the next 10 years. Expensive. Italy is so expensive. I don't have any money to go anywhere. Send me Venmo. What do we got? So all right, that's it. Check out my podcast. It's a really fun interview. John Billings, he's the bass player from the Monkees. It was like the one I loved going to see my daughter, and I love in London and Italy. But the one thing that I then missed was John Billings, who I had interviewed, was in town with Mickey Dolenz in the Monkees in the Royal Oak Theater, and I could have, that would have translated to me being able to have that experience. But you trade off family for whatever. Family first, everyone.
You did the right thing, Jeff.
I did the right thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a really fun interview, and I gotta say, the Monkees fans have been going crazy sharing it, so that's nice.
Oh, good.
So that's fun. All right, thanks everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Bye.
night, good night, everybody.
Good night.
We'll see you next week. And
night.
that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff DeWaskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff DeWaskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcasts, Classic Conversations, and The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.